of course is one of the greats of the game.
The fifth Ashes test against England could also be his farewell.
Felt like I was on my own reality TV show anyway. I mean, I pick up the paper and there was 6 pages of me on there, and then it was on, every time I turned on TV, my head was on there.
And there is, of course, the big question about Waugh's future.
You'll never get any one of the players now saying, you know, that he's not the bloke to lead the side at the moment.
It was a pretty crazy situation. I mean, the kids must think that it's a pretty crazy world, that their dad's on TV all the time and on the back of the newspapers.
Pick up the newsprint the next morning, and it was, in effect, this guy must go.
I've tried to make the most of my potential, but I've always tried to play hard and fair. And I see myself as a guy who can be relied upon when things aren't going right, and who always respected the honour and privilege of playing for Australia.
I'd mark him down as one of Australia's finest, particularly in hard situations for the team.
Not being blasé about your cricket. That every day could be your last, so treat it like that. And I think that'll be probably his legacy to the Australian side.
I remember thinking it'll be a significant moment in cricket history, seeing him walk out to bat for that innings, purely because it may be, you know, the last one.
There's probably only one person in world cricket who could have done that, who could have got through what he'd been through in the press and the media and the occasion here at the SCG and the build-up to it all.
A Hollywood scriptwriter, even if he'd written it, would have thrown it away going, no, that's just too unbelievable.
So those 40-odd thousand people who were there, they won't forget that day in a hurry.
Everybody knew that this was not just a great moment in cricket, but one of the great moments in Australian sport.
It probably was as good as it gets in cricketing terms.
You're ready, was it? Yep, okie doke.
Head is a call.
Let's come down there.
You going to bowl first?
Yeah, we won toss, we'll have a bowl, yeah.
What's the thinking?
There's a little bit in it. I want to give our young bowling attack best chance of a bit of grass on the wicket and get into their batting early.
In some ways, leading into the Brisbane Test, there was a little bit of pressure off because I'd scored 100 in the previous Test in Sharjah and played a pretty good innings. In other ways, there was still a massive amount of pressure because a lot of people or journalists wanted to forget that one innings and just said that was just a one-off thing, and his form over the past 12 months hasn't been good enough. Mark had announced his retirement, so now there was only one old bloke left in the side, and that was me, so I had to wear all the negative stuff. So yeah, I felt as if I had something to not only prove to myself, but to prove to other people that I was still good enough.
I think everyone in Australia knew that the Australian side were playing good cricket, and have been now for a number of years. But there's also a feeling, and I think quite right to have the feeling, that you've got to keep the side moving forward. You've got to make sure that you don't have 4, 5, 6 players all going within a year of each other. So there was a feeling in certain sides of the media, whether rightly or wrongly, that maybe it was time for Steve Moore to go.
It goes back to the Alan Border medal night of last year, where Steve was told that he was axed from the Australian Limited International side. And that was very important. From that moment on, he was, in a sense, a condemned man as far as a lot of people were concerned out there. They were thinking, first of all, he's gone from the one-day side. OK, what's he still doing in the Test side?
I think, Stephen, going into Brisbane, as you always are as a captain in Ashes series, you're always a bit nervous. There's no doubt about that. You want to do well, and I don't think anyone, any Australian captain wants to be the first one to hand back the Ashes after, whatever it is, 15 years or something since we've had them. So there would have been that pressure for sure. But I think also the fact that he just made 100 in Sharjah in his last Test match, to probably keep the Wolves at bay, he more than likely would have liked to have gone into Brisbane and said, right, if I can make some runs here as well, then I've got them way in the distance. No one will be talking about my future.
Oh, well, he's got him. He's got him in that little position. They've set the trap, and they'll get a lot of pleasure out of this, I can tell you.
Caddy continues. Gone, straight to first slip. Well bowled. Forced him to play the ball away from his body. Straightforward catch.
The first innings I scratched around, got 7. Was disappointed. Second innings I got out when we were trying to score quick runs, so I didn't worry too much about that. But when you stack but 2 failures up, they start to say, well, hang on, that one innings was just a fluke, and this is back to his true form.
He finds the gap now through gully, back foot, run and glide through the third man area. Will it make the rope? It won't. It's been flicked back well, and they've just run 3.
Adelaide, I thought, was the turning point in the Test series for me, because I went out there with a positive frame of mind. The team was doing very well, and it's sometimes harder to go out there when the side's done well and the opposition are struggling. You've got a lot of runs on the board. It's not the big match situation that I really relish, but I went out there and tried to be positive. I got 30 odd. I hit the ball, I thought, very, very well, and got out to a loose shot. I was very upset with the way I got out because it was a ball I should hit for 4, and it was the only shot I really held back on.
In the air and got him, he's hit it straight to him. Very well caught by Butcher. Steve Waugh going for that shot he loves so much. The full-blooded cut shot, and boy, it went like a rocket. Butcher dived to his left, and White is having a ball. That's the end of Steve Waugh.
But I knew there was runs going to come if I kept believing in myself, because I was hitting the ball too well.
Now suddenly, not making a million runs in Adelaide, that produced the further campaign, and then suddenly you had a situation where the selectors came out with what I thought was one of the more extraordinary things I'd ever read. They issued a statement saying that he had their support. In effect, he had their support until the end of the Test series, and after that they didn't quite say zilch, but it was close to zilch.
Well, there's a buzz around this ground. They were queuing up from 8 o'clock this morning and couldn't get in till 9. There's been big improvements made around this Waugh ground. We've spent 12 million on it, and the Australians are in the centre, and so too now are the 2 England opening batsmen, Marcus Trescothick and Michael Vaughan.
Oh, this could be out, down the far end. Oh yes, what a throw! What a throw! Brilliant fielding, these Australians. When they get a little sniff, they make it count. It had to hit the stumps, otherwise it was going to be not out. And Vaughan said yes, and then said no.
Misunderstanding between the 2 players. Now Vaughan is going and then says no. That's a difficult pick up and turn, and a beautiful throw. That's what they practice hour after hour, day after day, and the captain has done it.
Perth was a match where I sort of built on the previous match in Adelaide and played just a little bit better.
Shot that Steve Waugh has almost made his own in the last 10 years or so. That's a nice shot. Rocks back, cuts him for 4. That's 50 for Steve Waugh. He's looked in much better form in Adelaide and here today.
I wanted to get 100. I was hitting the ball well enough. The situation was perfect to get a big score, and I got a pretty good delivery.
Ovation too. Got him, he knocked him over. That's beautiful length. Drew him forward. That's a big wicket for England. The second new ball does its job.
So I wasn't too critical of myself, because I got out to a good ball, which can happen, but I felt as if the big score was going to come, and I hoped it was going to be the next match. I felt as if I was peaking gradually each match, and it was going to come to the point where things would all happen and I would get the big score.
Adelaide, Perth and Melbourne were very similar. As I mentioned, I think you'd come to the realisation that, hey, if I am going to continue to play in this game, I've got to throw all the baggage off my back and just play aggressively, particularly if I'm coming in when Hayden and Langer and Ponting have made runs. People often say, oh, what a great time to bat, 3 for 300. Well, that can be sometimes a terrible time to bat. Stephen Waugh has generally batted his best when the side's been 3 for 50 or 3 for 100, when the game's still very much in the balance. So I think Stephen thought, well, if I'm going to go in a situation where the side has played well, we're top in the game, I'm just going to keep going. If I get out playing a big shot, well, I get out at least having a go, rather than getting bogged down and slowing down the scoring. And it was the best decision I think he made during the summer.
Terrific delivery. The Australian captain first up. It was quick, it was on target. Waugh in the end played it pretty well. Thompson got his tail up here.
First innings, I hit the ball as well as I've hit it probably ever in my career. I just went out and thought, this is it, you know. Hussein probably teased me in a way. He gave me the single to get me on strike against Harmison. I thought, well, bugger this, I'm going to show these blokes that, you know, I still mean business. So I took Harmison on and hit a 4 over the top of point, which was an unusual test cricket shot. It was probably a one-day shot.
Just giving that a bit of hammer.
I thought, I've got to send a message out to these guys that I'm not going to be intimidated, and today I'm going to take you guys on. And I got 62 not out, I think, at the end of play. Everything hit the middle of the bat, and if there was another half an hour that night, I probably would have gone on and got 100. But as it was, I had to turn up the next day.
Oh, he's got that away. Short outside off stump, and well, the pulses started beating again. Down to the boundary for 4, playing the shot that well, he could play almost with his eyes closed.
They bowled much better, and I got out. I just feathered one off Craig White, got 77, and felt as if my chance for 100 was blown, because I thought I'd played well enough to get one, and it was going to be my destiny to make 100, but it didn't happen.
77 and on strike. Oh, and that's out. That's caught behind. Big noise. Yes, given him. Caught behind. There was no doubt there was a noise there. Steve Waugh is standing probably more out of disappointment than anything else. That is a good delivery. Got a couple to swing early on, but that has brought an end to the Waugh innings.
The problem came in the second innings when Michael Vaughan had played well, made the big 100, and forced Australia to make 100, batting last. Now, I always felt they were going to get the runs, and I think everyone did. But that's an awkward score to get. And I think no matter how many games you've played, no matter how long you've captained your country for, there's nothing worse than going in when you need 40 or 50 to win, because you can't win. The best you can hope for is 20 not out, and everyone forgets about that anyway. The worst thing that can happen is you can go in there and get out for an ugly-looking 15 or whatever it was. And Stephen certainly made an ugly, I think it was 14 actually.
It was an innings that not only would he prefer to ease it from his mind, he'd like to obliterate it, I would imagine.
The second innings, we needed a small total to win, and England came at us pretty hard and took a few early wickets, and all of a sudden I found myself out in the middle with England charging in. And it was funny because about 2 minutes before Damien Martin got out, I just felt as if I had a migraine coming on and my head started to pulsate. And as soon as I walked out into the hot air, I felt dizzy immediately. And as I was walking out, I was had blurred vision and this massive, enormous headache, and I just didn't feel myself. I almost felt as if I was going to fall over every step. So I got out to the middle and said to Justin, I'm struggling a bit here. But I've got to obviously knuckle down, and we need, I think, about 40 or 50 runs to win. So you just got to get on with the job in that situation. But I certainly didn't feel right. I mean, I remember looking down at my bat and thinking I'm going to fall over here and make a complete fool of myself. I was feeling that crook, but in that situation, you can't let too much on, and you can't let the opposition know you're feeling too bad. But it came out in the innings because it's probably one of the worst innings I've played in Test match cricket. There was one particular over which will go down as probably one of the more famous overs in Test cricket.
Inside edge and just away from the keeper, James Foster. Another good delivery from Harmison.
Exactly the same as the first one to Steve Waugh. Justin Langer, last ball, last over hit on the head. This time, decks back into Steve Waugh. Had him hopping on the crease. Inside edge, I'll take 4. Foster could do nothing. There is some real heat on out there. Langer once again, hit on the head. Caddick, short, turned the head to leg byes.
That one was a no ball.
They've had the inside edge, Steve Waugh jumping on the crease. Then they've hit him on the gloves, could have gone anywhere. Then they had him swinging at a wide, short cut. This time had him fending. Damien Martin wished that the English didn't appeal for him like they did for Steve Waugh. That, I think, has taken the outside edge.
I think the first controversial incident came when I let a ball go off Steve Harmison, which was too close to my bat, and as I let it go at the same time, the ball just brushed my bat very lightly, and none of the England players heard it. Didn't appeal, of course, and I thought, well, I'm not going to walk, no one's appealed for this, so I'll stay here. And unfortunately for me, about 30 seconds later, they showed the replay on the screen, and the Barmy Army saw there was some deflection. They went crazy, and then the England players saw it. And that obviously fired the England players up, and really wasn't something I needed because I wasn't feeling that great at the time, and all of a sudden the Barmy Army are on my case as well.
So there must have been an appeal because David Orchard has answered it, but it's definitely taken the edge. And he's caught, well caught at mid-off.
Next ball, Harmison threw a fuller ball up, and I absolutely smashed it out of the middle of the bat. I couldn't hit it any better, and I thought that's 4 runs. Then I looked up and saw Nasser Hussain dive to the right and took a fantastic catch, and I just heard the Barmy Army go berserk and thought, well, that's the end of my innings. I started walking off.
And it's a no ball. Umpire Orchard is standing there with his arm outstretched. Steve Waugh is 20 metres from the crease.
I think the 12th man came on the field and said, look, go back, you're still in, you're not out. So I thought, what's going on? I turned around and it was a no ball, so then I went back out to the middle, and the England players were obviously pretty upset and saying a few things because I thought I had probably my fair share of luck, which was fair enough.
What an unbelievable run here for Steve Waugh.
The Barmy Army has cost England this wicket. There's too much noise out there. No one can hear a thing. The wicket before this one, the outside edge, if the slips weren't sure of the edge, why should the umpire be sure? No one appealed, no one heard a thing. This comedy of errors. There's the outside edge, the bat going back. Foster knew something had happened but wasn't convinced. How can you convince the umpire? Then the no ball. Harmison follows that up with a no ball where he had him caught.
And I just thought, well, this must be my day. And the next ball, I thought Harmison would have bowled another short ball because he would have been obviously frustrated at what happened. But he threw a fuller ball up, and I just played probably one of the better shots of my career. I sort of smashed it down the ground off the middle of the bat, and the England players were exceptionally cheesed off after that one. But it was just, I think, one of those overs where there was so much happening.
Don't worry about Steve and the fact that he thought he was out. I reckon that moment for Nasser was the absolute depths. It was theatre. Lovely, dramatic, gruesome theatre.
It's a bit like yourself. If you're driving your car over 70 kilometres an hour in a 70k zone, are you going to report yourself to the police station and say you were speeding?
You've got to appeal to get people out. You can't just 3 hours later say, how's that, you know, ring them up in the hotel room or something like that.
All it did was it made Stephen look bad, and then everyone thought, oh, okay, hang on a minute, maybe he's not playing as well as we think he's been playing over the last 3 test matches.
Or on strike to Andrew Caddick. Oh, that's in the air, and he's out this time, and Steve Waugh walks. Caught at second slip by Mark Butcher. Steve Waugh has received a number of short pitch deliveries in this innings, and finally they've got him.
It just got people thinking again, only because of the way he played. If he'd got out first ball, nicked one, walked off for naught, there wouldn't have been a problem.
That was a shoulder-high bouncer and a good catch. He had to stretch and then keep going.
Now to Steve Waugh on the eve of what could be his last test as captain of the Australian cricket team.
There's pressure being applied to have the much-admired Test captain pick his time when to retire the baggy green cap.
There was a lot of negative stuff, not only throughout this season, but over the past 12 months. A lot of it referring to my one-day game and then more lately my Test cricket and whether I was too old. It seems to be when you get to a certain age that you lose your reflexes and you lose your ability overnight. And I find that frustrating because I think in sport and in cricket, a lot of times you're at your peak when you've played quite a bit of cricket, and just because you're in your mid to late 30s doesn't mean you're going to lose that straight away. I thought it was a little bit harsh because I knew deep down I was still playing well. I'd scored first-class centuries. I'd missed out in a few Test matches, but there've been quite a few pressures over the past 12 months, and I hadn't failed in Test cricket for 10 years. So I thought these people were a bit short-sighted and weren't showing enough faith in my ability, which I found frustrating, particularly when some of those were guys I'd played with and against. And so yeah, from a critic's point of view, they were looking at this test match. I think some people might have been thinking if he fails in this test match, he's going to be dropped. He's definitely past it. He's not good enough.
I thought he was going to do well. And there was so much pressure on him. He declined interviews, and everyone was saying, you know, you must give us a statement, and we must have 2 lines, and are you going to do this? Are you going to get out? Are you finished? Are you finished? So that's what they're leading him into.
Everyone at the ground, I think everyone in Sydney, well, just about everyone in Sydney was very aware of the, I suppose, of the controversy, of the dramas that that could unfold over the 5 days of the Sydney Test match. So those people who had tickets for the second day came along knowing they're going to see Steve Waugh bat. Probably, I think 99% of them had their fingers crossed, saying, please make some runs.
For the captain, this match could contain plenty of personal milestones. Waugh will equal Alan Border's record of 156 tests. Another 69 runs would see his test career tally total 10,000. 100 would equal Sir Donald Bradman's Australian record of 29 test centuries. Top priority, a 5-0 series whitewash, the first in Ashes cricket for 82 years.
And obviously it's something for the side to try and achieve and create our own little piece of history.
Repeating the same answer, Waugh's grown weary of questions about his retirement.
I'm still not 100% sure what the right decision is, and I'll have a think about it after the game.
But when asked about his career's defining moment, the 37-year-old offered what may be a hint.
The defining moment may be this match.
It's a great sight here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. It's not a full house at the moment, but every ticket is sold for the day and tomorrow, and for the 3rd day as well. Steve Waugh on his way out with the Australian side.
What a wonderful day. Full house at the Sydney Cricket Ground, bathed in sunshine, possibly the best cricket ground in Australia. It's off the mark with a good shot.
Oh, he's got into the gap again. The runs are beginning to flow. There are a lot of smiling faces up on that hill area just below the Doug Walter stand. That's where all the Barmy Army are hanging out.
Unsurprisingly, Stephen Waugh has taken the ball. He did this in Melbourne and picked up a wicket. So it's in a very good position, England. Oh, close, 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 close. Yes, he's got him.
Oh, he's hit that through the covers for 4. That's a magnificent shot. That's as good a cover drive as we've seen all day. 5 for 264. Perhaps even Stevens at the moment, nothing much in it. And with Crawley and Stewart going tomorrow, England will be looking to kick on. The Australians, they'll be looking to come out there tomorrow and absolutely clean up.
I think we're chasing 372, which England got on a pretty good batting wicket on the first day, but we knew from looking at the wicket it was going to deteriorate and going to be very difficult to bat in the second innings. So the first innings for us was crucial to make sure we got a competitive total, at least close to England, but if not, hopefully in front of England, because we knew we needed some runs in hand for the second innings. At 3 for 56, we obviously needed to establish a few partnerships, and that's where I play my best cricket. I think when the side is in a little bit of trouble and we need someone to sort of put their hand up and say, yeah, we'll dig in here and get a partnership, and that's how I've always played my best cricket, under pressure. It's probably my strength. My weakness is if we're 3 for 300, I generally don't get too many runs. So that was probably the perfect situation for me to go in there and feel comfortable and relaxed in a funny sort of way.
Even though the series was won and England had started to come back at them, that was very important in the context of that match in Sydney, because they'd lost the toss. That was the biggest problem. Now you needed someone to come out. They were 3 for 50 odd when Steve came in and made his way quickly out to the pitch. And it was very important that someone make runs, otherwise the game would slip away.
Before going out to bat, just sitting there, was a lot of things going through my mind. I didn't want to go out there and get out first ball or get a duck because there was so many people watching, and I had the thoughts of the critics saying I wasn't good enough and past my best. Then I thought, well, go out there, enjoy yourself. Maybe this is the time to go out and get 100 and be the most defining moment of your career.
I came to be in the Australian dressing room, not as many people suspect, because I'm actually the power behind Australian cricket. I paid at an auction for the Malcolm Sargent Foundation for Kids with Cancer to be the assistant coach of the team, and as it turns out, I paid a few $1,000s. It was worth many, many times that. I think I'm the luckiest man in Australia. Certainly every other man I've spoken to actually wants to kill me because I happen to be there on that day. Even women I know who don't follow cricket at all, don't understand it, vaguely understand that I was at the centre of something really, really important.
12 years ago, and I just felt really comfortable in my hands, and I felt as if it made me play in the V. It gave me a certain grip on the bat, and I felt as if I could play a lot straighter with that shaped handle, and I've always had an oval-shaped handle.
Right at the end, as is often the case with England, they've fought back, and the series was all over.
I think back to 1988-89 in Australia when this happens.
That's a nice shot from Stephen Waugh. Won't go to the fence. They'll look for three with Caddick chasing, and they'll take one on the arm. Good cricket.
Damien Martin not able to pierce the gap last over. There's been more of a gap left for Steve Waugh, and he looks very comfortable on the back foot playing this shot. Hoggard's gone from the leg side to outside off, and with outside off line, he's given back foot length. Waugh gets it 3 for 3.
Can't keep.
How lucky was I? I actually got to take the drinks out in the final session as Steve was, in his 40s. And I'm standing there in the middle of the SCG, full crowd, the sense of history. Steve's batting really well, a big innings needed. And first of all, I said, "How are you going?" He'd taken his helmet off, he was dripping with sweat, and he said, "I'm enjoying myself." And he has the drink, and I'm standing there thinking, well, what's the protocol here? I don't know, are you meant to say something? So as I left, I just said, don't be home before 6, and wandered off. And Duncan, who's the guy that normally takes out the drinks, trainer with the team, said that was the perfect thing to say. And clearly it was, because he went on to score 102 not out. So I don't want to claim too much, but I think I was responsible.
Steve Waugh on 47, 9 boundaries in his 47. This has probably been the most convincing innings of the summer from Steve Waugh. Been very, very positive, really attacked the England bowling. I think he's probably done it with the knowledge that when they have been attacked, the England bowlers do have a tendency to become wayward.
That's certainly the case with Andrew Caddick. The Australian batsmen have been on top of him for most of the summer. They've looked to pull him off his length.
What now?
I suppose if there's one batsman that Caddick's had a fair degree of success against, it is Steve Waugh, because his one play won't take on the pull or the hook. Steve Waugh, obviously massive motivation for him in this innings on his home ground.
The scoreboard is always in the back of your mind, but I've always known exactly how many runs I was anyway, and it probably stems from the fact that growing up, Mark and myself always got confused with the scorer, and we come off after batting and we know exactly how many runs we were, but the scorers would always get it wrong, so we get pretty disappointed and cheesed off that Mark has got some wide runs and other days, it'd be vice versa. So we got into the habit of counting our own runs, and I've always continued that.
Now this is an intriguing situation. Australia 5 for 150, in trouble. At the moment, they're the two fellas you'd like to have out in the centre if you're in trouble, Steve Waugh and Adam Gilchrist.
Right, so what he'll be conscious of is that they're trying to trap him down on the boundary on the leg side. There are two of them down there waiting. So there they are. There's one of them there and one there, and they're all both walking in, and he's round the wicket. No one there though, so Gilchrist off the mark. Oh, this will be his home. Oh, he's a direct hit, but I think he's home. He's asking for it. He's asking for it. I think that's just to make absolutely sure that he had his bat on the ground.
Well, yeah, I think he was in.
I was never concerned about that. I knew I was home pretty easy, but you're never 100% sure until you actually see it not out on the screen.
Umpire just making certain that absolutely everything was in order. The bat was on the ground. I think that's the only reason he could be calling for it. There's a big cheer goes up as not out goes up on the board. I think they might like him out there. A 4 will get him to 10,000. It's been an incredible career, really. And once again, England's captain trying to get that mid-off a little closer. He doesn't want to concede ones to mid-off.
It wasn't that short to cut, but I just the footwork was pretty good again, and luckily it hit the middle. And once I got the 4, it was a sense of relief that I got there, because I'd struggled from 9,000 to 10,000, and to finally get there was nice. And it is quite a significant milestone. Only 3 players have done it. When I scored my first run, I pushed a single off Kapelev into the covers, and I thought that's great. They can never take that run away from me if I don't score another one. And to score 10,000 more is beyond what I expected by a long way. So that is a really nice thing to have. And when I retire, I'll look back and say, well 10,000 runs is significant.
Right, so what's next? That's the question. Can he get 100 as well? Yes, if one does look at the history books, as he's gone past his milestones, he's made a habit of making big scores. That one's pulled down towards fine leg. It's just going through a few of them for you. When he reached 3,000, he scored 147 not out. And just working back, when he reached, or working forward, when he reached 7,000, he made 122 not out. When he got to 8,000, it was a 150. 9,000, he made 105. So if you look at that history book, every time he gets over these milestones, he kicks on. And now he continues to pick up the one, so that takes Steve Waugh to 70. Gilchrist has only just arrived at the crease on 3, and it's after this, it's bowlers. That they're after a total of 362, England's first innings score. Oh, and everyone just bouncing away on the offside. And there he is, just at backward point. Just got to be a little careful you don't mistime anything in that direction. Quick single and comfortably through. The 40 overs have been bowled in this innings so far. 5 for 169, the run rate 4.2, and Steve Waugh on 75. Oh, he's playing well. Just a single there, but he has played some superb shots today. 14 fours so far in that 76. Pretty good performance. Quite a few away off his legs. You can see square of the wicket. He really is incredibly powerful. And all these fours into this area here, and then across on the other side. These here, all of these down and through the covers as well.
Yeah, that was probably the shot that I thought was the best shot of my whole innings. I just got in perfect position and played a shot that sped away for 4, and it just felt really good. It felt as if I was back to 19 years of age again.
5 for 175. 41 overs have been bowled. Steve Waugh on 80. He's got 20 to get 100 here, and we have some good news for those of you watching this telecast around the country. We will be staying with the cricket until Steve Waugh either gets his 100 or gets out. That's at least what we'll be doing. Everyone focused on this. This has been an incredible innings by Steve Waugh. Came in when the chips were down. He needed a fighting innings. That was the last shot he played through the covers. And boy, he's just confirmed here that he is a real fighter.
Things seem to be happening pretty quickly, and I knew how many overs were left in the day, and I thought if I keep continuing at this rate, I'll pretty much be 100 not out by the end of the day. But then Adam Gilchrist came in and took over proceedings.
Here we go.
This crowd, what a day for them. What a day for Stephen Waugh.
There's 30,000 still here. They've changed the third man. Said we don't need the third man anymore. We're going to pitch the ball up. We're going to put him further, closer on the sweeper out at cover. And he gets an outside edge to a wide out swinging half volley.
It's 92. $11 balls to be bowled this evening. Hoggard. 92 plus a dot ball. He's still on 92.
I took Hoggard on the second last over of the day. Dawson was bowling the last one. I thought, yeah, I want to make sure I get my 100 tonight. If I don't get it now, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow morning.
9 balls remaining this evening. On his pads. Oh, just a single, maybe two. It's Harmison. He's a bit slow. Here he comes. Here's the throw. He's home. Great running. He wants it tonight. He's 94. We don't see Steve Waugh take on a fieldsman when he's in the 90s very often. Harmison was a fieldsman, not all that quick. Good strong arm. 8 balls remaining.
I knew as soon as I hit that I wanted to. I felt as if Harmison wasn't the quickest fielder, but in a lot of ways I took a gamble because as soon as I turned around, the fieldsman was looking. I was looking into the sun, so I couldn't even see the fieldsman where he was or whether he thrown the ball. So I was running blindly for the second one, and it was just I was just hoping that it wasn't going to be a direct hit because if it was, I knew it'd be pretty close to being out.
Oops, 95. 7 balls remaining here at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
I actually miscalculated. I thought what has now in history turned out to be the second last over, I thought that was the last over of the day. So I thought, you know, a bit unlucky Stephen's going to be left in the 90s, not out overnight. And it's funny, all these short balls were coming, and throughout the innings, because I didn't want to lose a wicket, I kept saying to myself, don't play a hook shot, don't chase the short ball. And I think after about my 15th hook shot, I thought, right, I've got to get serious about this not playing a hook shot because it's last over of the day, I thought. It was then that I realised, well, it's over. Hang on, there's another over to go. And that was the first time I thought, Stephen's a good chance of getting 100 here. I was sort of aware of it, but as I say, I was just in a total mix-up. But then it wasn't lost on me. I thought, gee, maybe that is fate. Maybe it's just meant to be. The fact that for some reason I decided not to have a go at that last delivery, and it meant Stephen had to strike, you know, with 6 possible deliveries to score his runs for 100 off.
What a great role Adam Gilchrist played just then. He has been murdering these types of deliveries. Hoggard sits one up for him again. Short, real short, and he just harmlessly lets it go by. Stewart knows what's on. He looks up the other end and knows that it's Steve Waugh. The last over. The atmosphere has gone right to the last minute of the second day.
If I was going to write a script, this was the script I'd certainly write, you know, coming into the last over, needing 5 runs to make my 100. And in fact, Alex Stewart, the England keeper, said to me, he said, you write your own scripts now, do you?
Oh, it's a big ask, isn't it? 5. He's got to get a single. Gilchrist get a single and then hit a 4. That'd be the way to go. If he doesn't get it tonight and he's not out, there'll be 44,000 people at the start of play.
This is the man this is his area here.
I felt as if I was just going to hit the ball for 4, and fortunately he threw a quick one in, and the reflexes were good enough to just swat it away past cover and hit the 4. And it was it's amazing because the shot I hit was just perfect. It just hit the middle of the bat, and I knew straight away it was going to be 4. And it was a lot of emotion. It was overwhelming relief and joy, ecstasy. Everything sort of rolled into one to hit the 4 and the crowd to go berserk, and to run past Adam Gilchrist, I could sense that he was very happy for me as well. it was a perfect ending to you know, a great script.
A ball that most of us in world cricket would just sort of pat back, and Steve Waugh's hands, I mean, Steve's hands are magnificent, and his hands just somehow, it was probably the shot of the test match, not just because of the occasion, but it was a regulation forward defence, and his hands just nailed it through the covers. And then just pandemonium set in, really.
Just wanted to pick him up and hold him up like a trophy and just sort of parade him around. That's what I wanted to do, but I think I ran down for a high five. He pulled out of that, and then I ran back and wanted to give him a big hug, but he was a bit too cool for that as well. So I don't know. I just told him he's an absolute champion, an absolute legend, and he was just soaking it all in. I didn't want to walk off the field. I know that. I just wanted to. I could have stood out there for another hour and just lapped it up.
Under pressure, you'll see none better. 40,000 fans and millions of viewers around the world. You've seen a great player make a magnificent 100 under pressure.
But the noise was just deafening, and it continued. And as I walked off, Gilly was very happy. He came up to me and put his arm around me and said it was fantastic, or words to that effect, and it was great to be with you and to help you out. And then I noticed quite a few of the England players coming up towards me, which was a really nice touch. I mean, they didn't have to come over and congratulate me. And I think most of the side, if not all of the side, come up and said, well played, it was great.
I went over to shake his hand, and I thought about saying something really, you know, deep and meaningful, like, you know, I said it to him after the test match about, you know, how he got the utmost respect of our team and all that. So in the end, I just shook his hand and said, well done. It was quite awesome. We were sort of taken aback a little bit, and I told our boys who were walking off to the other dressing room, I just told them, look, come over here. It's not been our moment, but it's been a fantastic moment. Make sure you applaud this bloke all the way in.
And then walking off, the applause continued, and I just tried to soak it up as much as I could without sort of being a lair about it. You know, raising the bat and acknowledging what had happened, and I just felt as if they were part of what happened that day, and I wanted to say thank you to the crowd.
What he did when he walked into the change rooms was identical to any other innings he's ever played. All the carrying on and dancing and jumping around was done by us, because I thought like I'd scored about 300 when I walked off that day.
Walking back into the dressing room, I just sort of put my gear down, and everyone was sort of very ecstatic about what was going on, and there was a lot of talk and a lot of chatter and congratulations and that sort of thing, and I just sat down and I didn't really move for about 20 minutes. I just had a Gatorade, I drank that, and had a water and maybe a Coke.
It was almost like there was this circle around Steve between him and the rest of the players, and it was the circle delineated the amount of respect for him. It's just, you've just done an amazing thing again. And as he sat in the dressing room, exhausted, absolutely exhausted, nobody was actually close to him. They were all just gathered around in a circle, and I really got a sense of, particularly from the younger players, but from all of them, of like, you're bloody amazing.
And then a couple of minutes later, my dad came into the dressing room and sat down next to me, and he was obviously very excited and pretty much on edge and wanting to talk about it, and I just sort of sat there. I didn't say much at all. I was sort of, it was almost too much, as if it hadn't actually happened. I was trying to work out, did it actually just happen, or what was going on? You know, it's one of those moments where you hope what happened did actually just happen, and you weren't sort of dreaming what was going on. So I just sat there and tried to take it all in and relax. It was pretty emotional. It was almost like just sitting there and just getting rid of all my emotions and just trying to relax for a couple of minutes. And Dad was excited. He came in then. Lynette came in with my daughter Rosie, and I saw them, and they were both obviously excited and crying about it. And I remember Rosie saying that when I got my 100 that her heart felt funny. So she obviously was caught up by what was going on around her, and she didn't quite understand why the crowd were going berserk and what was happening. So she was pretty touched with it all. And then the Prime Minister came in about 20 minutes later, and he was excited as well.
I just said fantastic, you know, a great performance, a great personal triumph. And I said to his father, aren't you proud of me? He says, I'll bawl my eyes out. He said he was really, Roger was very pleased.
It just felt like everyone just couldn't really look each other right in the eye, maybe for a fear of, I don't know, crying or just screaming or what. There's a lot of, you know, a few big egos in the room too, and you don't want to be seen getting too emotional, but it's just one of those funny moments where everyone's just sort of buzzing around.
There was a lot of people hanging around the dressing rooms for up to an hour afterwards, and it was, you know, they wanted a few encores. They wanted me to come back out in the balcony, and I did that a couple of times, and each time I walked out, there was just this massive roar went up, and there were high fives and cameras clicking and people wanting to shake my hands and autographs, and it was you know, probably the one moment in my career where I really felt like a rock star.
The crowd were all shouting for Steve, and you know, I bet this is the only time in his career he's ever done this. He actually came out again and sort of waved to the crowd. I don't know, like royalty or like he's a rock star or something. And you know, he's a very self-contained man, Steve, and this is one of those great moments in his career. You could just see it on him. That look of, I've done it. I'm sure for a perfectionist, it's very rare in his life that he would ever actually go, yeah, I've done it. But on this occasion, everything about him was just, hey, I've made it.
It was a great moment, there's no doubt about that. Hitting that 4 on the last ball and the massive roar that went up around the ground, I could feel 40,000 people were with me, and I saw them all stand up and cheer, and it was just a lot of pressure off my shoulders as well to prove to myself that I was still good enough. I knew that I was, but deep down you sort of get these doubts because there's so many people who are saying you're past it and you're written off, and it starts to wear you down. So to prove them wrong on that day as well, so it probably was as good as it gets in cricketing terms.
There's probably only one person in world cricket who could have done that, who could have got through what he'd been through in the press and the media and the occasion here at the SCG and the build-up to it all.
It was certainly a pleasure to be there on the day, just because of all the, as I mentioned earlier, about the controversy that was surrounding Steve Waugh. Would he be dropped? Wouldn't he be dropped after this Test match?
It wasn't just another 100, the actual importance of it. It wasn't even equaling Bradman. I mean, that for Steve and for Australians must be a great thing. But for us, it was the actual, what we'd seen as a build-up to the whole Steve Waugh saga. And we just had complete respect for the way he handled the situation.
I've never seen anyone who fights more on the field. There are plenty of good fighters in Australian cricket over the years, but I've never seen anyone who fights more and refuses to give in. That's the thing about him. He just has this thing where it'd be a black mark on his character to give in and let the opposition get on top.
Just to play well, not so much that he made 100, but just to play well and show everyone that, yes, I've still got it. Take the pressure off himself, that now he's in a situation where he can make a decision that he wants to make without it being pushed off the plank. I think will make obviously him feel good, and I think it makes the Australian public feel good.
This is one of those rare days which typifies why sport and why cricket is so amazing, because against all the odds, both personally and in terms of how the Test was going, in an impossible time frame, in a way that a Hollywood scriptwriter, even if he'd written it, would have thrown it away going, no, that's just too unbelievable. Against all of that, the champion, the people's champion, the captain of the Australian cricket team, the great competitor, the guy who is probably most admired in modern Australian cricket, against all of that, he prevailed off the last ball of the day against the bloody Poms at the SC bloody G. And everybody who was here just was transfixed. You know, there were people holding their kids and sort of saying, and pressing it into their DNA, saying, never forget this.
It was sort of a perfect cricket day. It was nice weather, it was a huge crowd. It had a fairy tale ending, it had great individual performances. And there was a generosity of reaction from the English team. I also thought the whole atmosphere of the crowd, there were a large number of English spectators. The Barmy Army was well represented, but there was no animosity, everybody was in a good mood.
I don't know what the equivalent might have been back in the 30s to see Phar Lap race, or I'm not even sure watching Lionel Rose win a world champ. I don't know what the equivalents were. Possibly the America's Cup is the only equivalent I can think of as an absolute definitive moment of Australian sporting history, and we were here.
It was just a moment of great and high drama, and you couldn't have asked for anything richer in the sporting experience than to have had a great day of individual performances ending like that. It was the sentimental finish to the day that everybody wanted.
I went actually to a pub after the second day's play when Steve made his 100, and there was people out on the street of this pub with their ticket from the day saying, you know, I won't relinquish this ticket, that'll prove that I was there, because it was one of those stories that people will say, I was there that day that Steve Waugh made his 100 in Sydney, and if you take everyone's word for it, there'll be 200,000 people would have been to that second day's play.
At the moment, there's 4 people involved in it. I think in 100 years' time or something, there'll only be 1 person remembered. And I think the little chat with Dawson will be cut out, and just those very, very quick Steve Waugh hands nailing it through the covers will be remembered.
It's hard to really believe it actually happened. It was everything was perfect on the day. The milestones were achieved. To score 100 off the last ball, I still find it hard to believe that everything went so perfect on one given day in a game of sport, which very rarely happens.
It's gone for it. There it is.
This has been another presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.